Alrighty, everybody, welcome back. Today is day 4. We are going to work on this fringy bit here on our little owl friend, and then we're going to work on this new texture that you guys have not learned yet. This is a 1x2 spike stitch, so it is 1 stitch wide and 2 stitches deep. So that's what we're going to do for our bottom here, but we'll get going on that here in a second. First, I stuffed my head last night after we talked and got him kind of, most of the way stuffed. We are going to have some access to the head once we have a body on it, so it's not the end of the world if I don't get him completely stuffed, but I did go ahead and do some of it. And next we are going to, we did our round where we added a whole bunch of increases. So we went from 18 to 36 stitches around really quickly. And that's exactly what we wanted to do. And now we need to turn around and go the other way. So I'm taking my stitch marker out of the working yarn that I had marked there. And I'm going to go back to the beginning here. And I am going to mark the starting stitch, because that's going to be the ending stitch now, and I want to be able to find it. But the reason we're turning around is because I like to do loop stitches with the wrong side of the loops on the wrong side of the work. Now, the reason I do that is because I can get a better twist on them. They stay in a little bit better that way once we've cut and brushed them. I like using my index finger to do the twists better than I like using my thumb. So if you do it on the front side of the work, you put it around your thumb and then work your stitch. And my thumbs don't work too hot. So so I like using my index finger better. It just works better for me. If you like to do them on the front side, then just take the entire turning part out of this and make your loops on the front. That is totally fine. But this is how I do things because it's easier and I get a better result from it. So what we're going to do is we're going to loop stitch in every stitch around, all 36 of those stitches from our increase. And what this is going to do is put kind of a little collar on this guy that we can then brush out later. Or if you choose to leave it loops, that's fine too. And that just gives us a nice little fun transition from one thing to the next. So we're going to loop stitch, we'll go over, blah, blah. Let's try that again. Outside, outside, through, and finish our stitch. So we talked about this some yesterday. I am going to try to go pretty quickly on these loop stitches. I've been doing these for a very long time, so I definitely move quickly through them because I've gotten a rhythm. But if you need help still with your loop stitches, go back to when we were working on them on the wings and check them out. Or I have another tutorial on how to do loop stitches on YouTube that might be beneficial to you if you're still struggling with them. All right, there's our marked stitch. Now I'm going to take out my stitch marker here so I can use it for something else. Oh, goodness sakes. And we're going to slip stitch into the very first stitch, loop stitch that we did, just to make this nice and even. And that is the stitch I'm going to mark, is that stitch we just slip stitched into, so that I can find it when we turn around, because we're getting ready to turn around again. So we're going to turn the work, and what's going to happen is that stitch is kind of going to disappear. You can see it's very, very invisible now because we twisted everything by turning it back around again. So in order to not need a turning chain, we're going to use that slip stitch as our turning chain. So here's the stitch that we just slipped into the other one. And then we've marked the stitch that same stitch coming around the other side so we can find it again and work into it, since we are not going to work into the slip stitch that's in its place, if that makes any sense at all. So what we're going to do is just do 36 SC, and then we're going to make sure we work into the base of that slip stitch that's from the previous round, and we don't work the slip stitch here because we're using it as our turning chain. So skip the slip stitch and work into the first stitch after it, and we're going to just work 36 SC around. Again, pull your loops toward you, just kind of like we did with the curls, so you can see what you're doing, and take it nice and slow. All right, there's our marked stitch, so we're going to make sure we work into that so we still have our whole 36 stitches. And I'm going to go ahead and move this up to the next stitch, and I'm going to start putting it around the post because I need to be able to work into these stitches while I'm moving, and that's just going to be easier from here on out, and I don't need to mark front loops or back loops, so that's easy enough. All right, we're going to do another round worked even. Round 28 is another round worked even, and the reason we're doing that is because our spike stitches are going to be 2 rounds deep into the work, so we need 2 rounds to work into in order to make those spike stitches work. So we're going to do another round of 36 single crochets. So there's 3, 4, 5, and this one should be significantly easier because we don't have the loops to worry about anymore. We're just working into another round of single crochets. This texture, I think you'll find, is significantly easier to do and significantly less straining on your fingers than the chain curls or the loop stitches. So I think you guys will like this one. And the spike stitch is one of my favorite things to use for textures. It is super versatile. It can look like anything from scales to pin feathers to like bumpy surfaces. Like I think about like crocodiles and stuff, which I guess have scales, but they're more just bumpy. But yeah, these make excellent textures. And in the texture course that I am launching tomorrow, it's part of a new series of little things I'm doing there. I want to call them mini courses, but mini course is such a lame term, so we're going to call them Ami Artistry Packs. And what they are is a collection of 10 to 15 patterns, mini patterns for samples that you can then use in your work in the future. So this one is going to be samples of textures that you can use, including a whole bunch of different ways to use those spike stitches, a couple variations on this guy, and some variations on the loop stitch. So you'll have lots of options for your fur and feathers. It'll be so much fun. All right, so let's get started on those spikes stitches. A spike stitch is worked into the stitches underneath the stitch instead of on top of it. So if you were to go 1 stitch deep here, you would go to the bottom of this first stitch, right? Just 1 deep. These spike stitches that we're working on together are going to go 2 stitches deep. So we're going to count down 1, 2 rows, and then insert our hook. So our pattern actually calls for an SC in the first stitch and then our spike stitch. So we're going to go 1, 2, insert our hook below that second stitch, yarn over, and then pull up a pretty decent sized loop so you can get back to the level of your work. Yarn over and pull through 2. So it's just an SC, but instead of inserting our hook in the top of this stitch, we're inserting it underneath 2 stitches so that it's big and long and tall. All right, so then SC, spike stitch, 1, 2, we're going to insert it right here and pull up our loop. Okay, yarn over and pull through 2. So it still makes a perfectly functional stitch on the top. So you can see it has a nice stitch that we can still work into. But it extends down way below the line of the work. So we get a really cool spike. Neat, right? All right. And the cool thing about spike stitches is you can do them as deep or as shallow as you want. You can do them around 1 stitch. You can do them around 5. You can do them around 15 if you really wanted to, although that might be kind of awkward. 1, 2. But you never know. It's whatever you want to do. So this whole round is going to alternate SC and then a spike stitch 2 stitches deep. So SC, 1, 2, insert our hook, pull up our loop, yarn over, finish the stitch. SC, then 1, 2 down, insert the hook, pull up loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Right, SC, do it again, 1, 2, insert our hook and pull up a nice little tall loop, yarn over and pull through both loops on the hook. All right, so let's just keep doing that all the way around. Sorry, my stitch marker is touching the table here. It's making a fun, nice metallic clanking noise. But it won't last long because I'll keep rotating my work here. Okay. 1, 2. All right. 1, 2 down, insert our hook there. 1, 2. All right, if you've worked any of my patterns, you know I have a soft spot for this stitch. I definitely use it a lot in Anduin. It has a lot of spike stitches in him, particularly, and I like him that way. All right, so there's our first stitch, or it's actually our last stitch, and it is marked. So I'm going to pull my marker out so I can see what I'm doing. And it's going to go 1, 2 down, and I'm going to make my spike stitch in that last stitch. And as you can see, because we have an even number of stitches, we ended on a spike stitch and we started with a single crochet. So that's going to be fine, but on our next time around we have to start with a spike stitch instead, so that these alternate, because we don't want them stacked on top of each other. The other thing we need to do, because we have we are doing a spike stitch that's 2 stitches deep, is we need to put a round worked even in between the rounds of spike stitches so that we, going forward, have 2 rounds deep to work into. If we don't put an extra round of single crochets here, we run into a real problem of just stacking our spikes on top of each other, and we don't want that to happen. So round 30 is just another SC evenly around round, so that we can put that space between, and we can stagger our nicely stagger our spike stitches in a nice alternating pattern that will look really cool. All right. And I don't have it marked anymore. I don't have my first stitch marked anymore. You might want to mark your stitches so that you know what you're doing. My plan here is to look for my last spike stitch, and when there's not a spike stitch after it, I'll know I have come all the way around. And I know that the last stitch of my round is a spike stitch. So that's my plan anyway, at least for the moment, since I'm not marking this round. And now my eyeballs are touching the bottom, darn it, or touching the table. Yep. That too will end soon. Oh, see, there it was. I didn't have a spike stitch after that spike stitch. So there's my last stitch right there. All right, so round 31 is going to be the same alternating spike stitch 2 rows below SC, but this time we're starting with the spike stitch, and we're gonna count down 1, 2 rows, insert our hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So you can see how these are gonna stagger now. All right, so we're gonna SC 1, 2. And if you find that you are wanting to insert your hook into the bottom, the base of the previous one, you know you are off just a hair. So your spike stitches should go in the space between your previous spike stitches. So there's 1, 2. Alrighty. SC. 1, 2 down. Spike stitch again. Okay, we're going to keep going around just like this. 2 down. SC. 2 down. SC. There's a truck outside. My dog is growling at it, so you hear gurrs. It's my dog. 1, 2. There are pluses and minuses of your office window facing the front of the house. The upside is I can see everything that's going on. The downside is my dog can see everything that's going on. So we get a handful of gurrs here and there. But I have a good Amazon guy alert system, so that's always nice. All right, 2 down. Spike stitch. SC. 2 down. Spike stitch. SC. 1, 2. Spike stitch. SC. I know we're coming back around to the beginning again because my eyeballs are clinking on the ground. 1, 2. SC. 1, 2. SC. And 1, 2. And SC. That's our last stitch of that round. So look how cool this is gonna look. Don't you just love this? This texture is so much fun, and it just looks so neat. So this is what it looks like. We're working here. Oops, sorry. We're working upside down. So this is what it's looking like to us as we work. Once we get him flipped over, it looks like this. Nice and feathery and fun. And we're gonna just keep doing that. So we're gonna work around even. So 32 will be around even. And then you're going to just redo 31 and 32. So, or no, 29, 30, 31, and 32. So you're going to redo these 4 rounds. So the spike stitch, SC even, spike stitch, SC even, spike stitch over and over again in this pattern until round 40. So keep going in this pattern. Duplicate those 2 more times is what it is. So it'll be 29, 30, 31, 32, and you'll duplicate those, or you'll repeat those rounds 2 more times in addition to this. So keep working rounds 33 through 40, or I guess in this case this is 32 through 40, and I will see you guys again at round 41 so we can decrease and finish stuffing our little friend here. So have fun with your spike stitch, alternating spike stitch pattern. Alrighty, we are done through round 40. We have our really cool spike stitch, alternating spike stitch pattern done. How pretty is that? Oh, so cool. And he's definitely starting to look much more owly than he was. I'll get these cut tonight between parts for you guys, but I went ahead and moved my camera up a little bit because I'm going to balance him on his head to do the closing stitches here. So rounds 41 through 45 are just your basic closing rounds, 6 decreases per round. So round 41 is 4 SC decrease 6 times. So we're just going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and a decrease. I am going to use invisible decreases here, since this is going to be on the bottom of the work and actually visible, and there's not a whole bunch of crazy textures to cover it up. So 2, 3, 4, and I chose to just do standard decreases across the bottom, or just like regular SCs across the bottom, so that he has a better shot at standing up on his own. When you put a lot of textures on the bottoms of things, they have a hard time sitting still. They tend to wobble a bit, or they'll have like a thick place and a thin place, so they'll fall over. So just keep that in mind when you're designing, or if you're adding stitches or adding textures to existing patterns, that the parts that touch the ground, the bottoms of feet, the bottoms of bottoms, probably still need to stay in the original stitch, whether that's a DC or an SC or whatever, just so that your little dude doesn't end up falling on his face on a regular basis. Because, you know, textures are great, but so is being able to stand up. So, almost all the way around here. La 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 la. 2, 3, 4, and a decrease. All right, now round 42 is 3 SC and a decrease 6 times. So same exact thing. We're just gonna do 3 in between. Decrease. 1, 2, 3, and a decrease. 1, 2, 3, and a decrease. 1, 2, 3, and a decrease. 1, 2, 3, decrease. Looks like we got one more of those. 1, 2, 3, and a decrease. Alrighty. So let's do one more set of decreases and then we'll stuff. So round 43 is 2 SC decrease 6 times. That will take us down to 18 stitches around, which is usually where I like to stuff. I feel like 18 stitches is a big enough hole to work in, but close enough to the end that you're not going to catch, you know, endless amounts of stuffing while you're closing. If you stuff too early, there's stuffing everywhere and you have to fight with it while you're trying to close. So I feel like that's a good spot. Usually it's 18 stitches around. 2, and a decrease. 1, 2, and a decrease. 1, 2, and a decrease. Okay, so I'm going to pull my working yarn out so I can't get it in my way. I'm going to pull out my extremely fancy stuffing box. Yeah, it's a trash box. It's a trash bag box. Alright, so stuffing. We're going to make sure that it's kind of aired out. So you stretch it a little bit to make sure that there's air in between it. You don't have any clumpy bits. clumpy places. Nobody wants clumpy stuffing, so give it a nice knead. And then stuff it in. All right, and there's a little more here. Okay, we'll keep going. Definitely can fit in some more. Look how flat he is on the side over there. So we're gonna make sure we get in our stuffing up close to his neck there so that he's nice and round. Oh, much better. Look how round he is now. How cute. Okay. And a little more, and then we're going to, so make sure you stuff your edges good so that you can, so that the bottom of him is relatively flat. So stuff around the outside. Alrighty. There we go. Okay. So we're going to move our stuffing away from the stitches as much as possible so we can close this guy up. Let's get my box out of the way there. All right. So round 44 is SC decrease 6 times. So let's do an SC decrease. And the whole time, to keep my stuffing out of my work, I'm pushing it away with my finger, pushing it away from the stitch that I'm working. So kind of putting my finger in between my stitches and the stuffing to try to keep my hook from grabbing any stuffing. Whoops. Because this last part is always where it's easy to grab your stuffing with your hook and pull it through, and then the last couple rounds look all messy and there's stuffing sticking out everywhere. Right. Oh, I grabbed some of that other one, didn't I? There we go. Had a little bit of my back loop there. Okay, last round, round 45, is decrease 6 times. So we're going to do one last round of decreases. I'm going to go halfway around, and then I'm going to add a little bit of stuffing because I have a little bit of a crater right here. So we'll do 1, 2, and 3 decreases. Oh, see, I'm grabbing all kinds of stuffing. Yuck. Okay, and then I'm going to fill in here a little more. Right, that's better. And we'll do those last 3. So 1 decrease. These are hard to do when I'm at a goofy angle so that I can be on camera. Usually this is flat in my lap and it makes it much easier, but on a tabletop, not so much. All right, and 1 more. All right. So, bust out the scissors. And so there's our end all done. Oh my gosh, look at him, isn't he cute? I like stuff like this. All right, we're gonna get out a needle. So here's my needle. And thread this. And then to close this guy up, we're just going to go from inside to outside through the front loops only of each of those 6 stitches around. Just like we did with our beak. And then again through the first one for good measure and for flatness. And then this end we can just weave in. So I like to go back out to an even round because, or at least a round with fewer decreases, because it's a pain to weave through decreases. So we're going to just go through here. And then what do? I pick up right next to a decrease. Of course I do. Why not? So weave through the decreases. So I like to go 4 stitches forward and back. Decreases are fun to work around, but that's okay. So you get the idea. You can weave this in 2 more times, and then you are done with today's step. Tomorrow, all we have to do is attach our wings and our beak and put some little floofs here. And we'll talk about whether or not you guys want to brush him out. So if you want to leave him curly, like our little friend here, or if you want him to be floofy, like our little brown friend over here, we'll learn how to brush out those loops, and you can make that decision. And then I want to talk to you guys a little bit more about that awesome texture course that I am putting out there tomorrow. My first of a series of Ami artistry packs to add even more artistry awesomeness to your Ami Groomy projects and really make them pop, really make them shine, and really show off the artist that you are, because you're a fantastic artist. And I cannot wait to see what you guys come up with all of these fun new textures that you've learned. You got to learn 4 with this fellow, so how awesome is that? And if you pick up this texture course tomorrow, then you'll get to learn several more. So, alrighty. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow for final attachments.